Happy New Year, everybody. This is Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to another edition of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. We're starting the year off right in the episode today with our very special guest. He is the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox Roach Realtors, and the Trident Group. Of course, I am talking about Larry Flick, also known to many of us as L5, and we're going to cover the year ahead in 2023. We'll touch upon the marketplace in our Fox and Roach footprint and what Larry anticipates sales are going to look like this coming year. What will interest rates be doing in 2023, and what can we expect out of the mortgage market? And of course, we're going to cover Fox and Roach, and in particular, what is Larry's vision for us in 2023, and what changes are going to be made for the good for your business moving forward. So I'm really excited to have Larry on today and be able to pick Larry's brain a little bit about the upcoming year. So let's get right into it with our CEO, Larry Flick, and we'll pick it up on the other side. Most know him affectionately as L5. Of course, I'm referring to none other than Larry Flick. Larry, I am very excited and very happy to have you on the podcast. Kick off the new year. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jason. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Thank you for that nice introduction. Appreciate it.
Well, no problem. I know we had a little bit of computer problems getting on, but we're here now. Yeah. I'm ready to go. And I thought that this would be a great way to start the year. Have our CEO on, and we talk about, the year ahead in 2023. And a lot of agents hear things about the marketplace, or they see things happening right now. I can tell you just personally, it feels a bit confusing to me out there. For example, I just had a property that I had 13 offers on. We went way over asking. It was, 2021 all over again. We had 62 showings in 3 days and limited time frame of showings too. We actually had showing restrictions. And then I hear from colleagues yesterday, I'm on a Zoom call with some of my colleagues that are kind of all over the Fox and Roach footprint. And they say that where they are, things have slowed down. And so my first question to you is, what does the market look like in 2023 in comparison to 2022 in terms of sales, units, and appreciation year over year in our general footprint in your estimation?
Yeah, we really noticed 2022 changing literally early April 1st. I met with our CFO, Ryan Slizovsky. We meet every month. We take a look at where we are during the year, and we forecast the rest of the year. And we noticed that pendant sales dropped off immediately. It was like the spigot turned off early April, and sales dropped around 20% year over year. And we sort of saw a drop off year over year, month to month, in the range of 10 to 20% relative to what we were forecasting. And in the fourth quarter of the year, things started to drop off more significantly when compared to last year. Now, there's a lot of comparisons being made year over year. It's typical. You take December of 2022, and how did that compare to December of 2021? And you're going to see significant drop-offs, 30, 40%. That's across the entire country. The whole country is seeing that. But I don't think that's a real fair comparison, because 2022, 2021 and 2020 during the pandemic, in our marketplace, we didn't really realize the cyclical nature of the year. Typically the first quarter and the fourth quarter are pretty slow, and the middle two quarters are very busy. But the pandemic sort of removed that cyclical nature of the year. So you're comparing a traditional year in 2022 where sales are going to drop off in Q4 compared to December of 2021 where sales did not drop off because we were still part of the pandemic. So first of all, you're going to see a significant drop off Q4 of 2022 compared to Q4 of 2021. But in my opinion, it's not a true apples to apples comparison. So people should not read that into next year's going to be 30, 40% off, right? The company, we closed the year last year, 28,000 sales, which is, healthy year, right? Now, compared to 2021, we had 36,000 sales. But 21 will go down, in my view, in history as the most robust real estate market we're ever going to see. So you really have to set that aside. right? So, I think for next year, in our marketplace, right, we don't see the ups and downs as much as some of the other marketplaces across the country, like California, Florida, the Southeast during the pandemic, Arizona. We don't see the volatile swings in units and average sale price that those marketplaces see. So we didn't see the big upturn, and I don't think we're going to see a huge downturn. So I think for next year, 5 to 6 to maybe 8% shortfall relative to this year, but I think it's going to be a tale of 2 years. I think the first half of next year is going to be more like the second half. I'm sorry, the first half of 2023 is going to be more like the second half of last year. And then as interest rates continue to move down, I think you're going to see some pent-up demand, people that wanted to buy in the last 6 to 9 months and then saw interest rates move from the 3s to the 7s. And then I think the second half of next year, interest rates are going to move from this, they're now in the 6s down to the 5s. And those people that are on the sidelines are going to get off the sidelines. And I think the second half of next year is going to be, second half of 2023 is going to be more like the first half of 2022. So it's really about sort of charging through the first 6 months, doing what you can as a realtor and as a company for us, but setting yourself up for the second half of next year. So I think at the end of the day, probably a 5 to 6% shortfall in units. Average sale price, I expect to remain stable. Inventory is still low. We're looking at a 2.3 month supply of inventory right now, still very, very low. And for that reason, for that lack of supply, I think that's going to be the trigger that stabilizes and holds average sale price where it is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I just, I have clients that always talk to me about, well, are we going to see some huge downturn? And you had mentioned the stability of our market and where we are, and we're not like other places in the country. So a lot of times when we look at real estate statistics, we're talking nationally, and everything gets lumped in together. And I go back to, the crash in, 2008, 2009, when certain places in the country, the appreciation, it was cut in half. And our market was relatively very stable, comparatively speaking, to some other places in the country. And, you talk about the rates, and of course, the market in 2023 is going to be largely dependent on where we are mortgage rate wise. And you referenced those people that have been in the market, those poor buyers of ours that have been in the market forever when, they started when the rates were 3%. They couldn't get a house because there's 20 offers on a property. And then rates more than double, 6 months later after they're looking. That's really tough. So, again, you kind of reference the rates and you anticipate them kind of maybe subsiding as the year goes by. Where do you see them forecasted to be? Maybe and putting you on the spot, by the end of 2023, do you anticipate they'll be around, say, 5%? Where do you see them? Because I've heard that we're not going to go back down to, 3% anytime soon.
Yeah, I think that the time of mortgage rates in the 3s are gone, unless, at some point in the future we have a major recession. And the Fed's going to take similar action they took when the pandemic hit and drop rates to 0. And that would bring mortgage rates down. But that's not any time in the future. To answer your question, I think end of 2023, I think rates will probably be in the mid 5s is my guess, low to mid 5s. And it would be great if we can get into the mid 5s, by the third quarter, because again, I think that those buyers that wanted to buy in the 3s, and I've never seen interest rates move up as fast as they did this year. It was crazy. Those poor buyers you mentioned that had rates in the 3s but couldn't find homes, right? Then the rates jumped to 7s, and so they said, "Look, I'm going to sit on the sidelines for a bit." I think when the rates drop to the 5s, they're going to change their mindset, and they'll see rates moving from the 7s to the 5s, not from the 3s to the 5s, and they're going to jump back in to the marketplace. And again, we're going to see some of that pent up demand that's going to, I think, exist in the second half of the year.
And you talked about, 2021, I always reference it as being like a unicorn market, and not only was the market a unicorn market, it was kind of a unicorn interest rate market as well. And so, my first house, just to put it in perspective, I think I was 6.5% when we started. Yeah. And so, you can always refi down over the years. And that's, I think, the key for anyone that is worried about interest rates.
One more thing, Jason, on interest rates. I mean, I think that before we move on, I think buyers that are buying right now should absolutely consider a 5-year ARM or a 7-year ARM. If you can get a rate, I mean, typically those rates are going to be 0.5 to 0.75% lower than 30-year fixed mortgages. And I just think that rates are going to continue to drop into 2023, 2024. And I think that the people that bought, last year are going to be refinancing next year. And the people that buy this year could be refinancing next year. So I'm not so sure that locking into a long-term fixed rate mortgage is the best course of action right now. I think the buyers right now should consider those hybrid ARMs, because I think there is going to be opportunities to refinance out of those into fixed rates in the next few years.
That's a great point. And, I've heard it said recently, when you're renting, you're paying 100% interest rate, right? Yep. So, everything is put in perspective here. If you can buy, it's always a good time to buy. So what do you foresee being the biggest tailwinds and headwinds realtors face in 2023?
Yeah, so I'll start with headwinds. I mean, I think that the biggest headwind we have as an industry right now is 70% of Americans have an interest rate that's below 4% right now. So there's a lot of people that either bought during the pandemic, and if they didn't buy during the pandemic, they refinanced during the pandemic, and they have an interest rate that is a good bit lower than where interest rates are right now. So if they're going to buy a new home, they can't take that low rate with them. So that's the biggest headwind I think that we have. Home prices have increased a fair amount over the last few years. That is a headwind, but it's also a bit of a tailwind, because if you're selling, you're going to be selling at that higher sale price and buying. But it is a headwind for first-time home buyers. And then we touched on it earlier. Even though inventory, month supply of inventory at the peak or at the lowest level was below 1 month. I've never seen that in our marketplace. So less than 1 month supply of inventory. Now it's up to 2.3 and going up a little bit every month, but still inventory is still low. I mean, you mentioned it. You mentioned it earlier. You had a property that had multiple offers on it, and we're still seeing that on properties that are priced right and staged properly. So those are the headwinds that I think we're going to be seeing. Tailwinds. Again, I touched on it earlier. Record levels of equity exist in the real estate industry, in the home ownership industry right now. Record levels of equity. And then for tailwinds for us as an organization and for our sales associates at Fox Roach, Berkshire Hathaway, Fox Roach, we're going to see whenever there is a real estate downturn, and that's what we're looking at right now. It's a bit of a normalization, but a bit of a downturn. We see a flight to quality. Okay, so we see homeowners and potential home buyers that are looking to buy or sell. They're going to be hiring professional real estate associates now, like the ones we have at Berkshire Hathaway, Fox and Roach. Gone are the days of putting a sign in the yard and getting 10 offers. Sellers aren't going to want to entrust a real estate transaction to their neighbor with a license that, has been in the business for a couple of years, maybe, and the average one sale a year. They're gonna need to, and they're gonna want to hire a Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Fox and Roach sales professional. So that's a big tailwind for us as an organization. For buyers, there's going to be less competition than what we saw during the pandemic. The tough thing, the sad thing about the pandemic is, if you wanted to buy a property, you practically had to waive everything and give up all your rights as a home buyer. And the real shame of it was people that didn't have a lot of money to put down, like FHA buyers and VA buyers, they were on the outside looking in. Those offers just weren't being accepted. But now it's a little bit more of an even playing field, and those buyers are going to be able to get in the game more so than during the pandemic.
it was really hard during, the year of 2020, even last year, 2021, 2022, where that you're advising your buyers the best way that you can. And I could never say, don't do a home inspection, right? You always want your clients to do a home inspection, but realistically that what it's going to take to get these properties. When you go to a property and your clients have interest and you find out there's 44 offers on a property, good luck.
It must have been so frustrating.
It's awful.
Buyer.
You feel like you have a better chance at winning the Powerball or the Mega Millions right now. Your better chances of getting struck by lightning and eaten by a shark at the same time than getting a property. And I do really look forward to this market in a way, because there is less competition. And you would mention the professional realtors out there at Fox and Roach, and I always talk about the dabblers that were in the market, and there's nothing more frustrating as, I consider myself to be, a professional agent. Sure. There's nothing more frustrating than to see the dabblers, the sellers or buyers may not even, the sellers in this case may not know that, they put a sign in the yard, like you said, and it sells.
Right.
But they could have gotten X amount of dollars more if they hired a professional. I think that's the distinction. And now you see skill come back into play, which I readily accept and am looking forward to. So,
agree. Yep.
So let's talk about just Fox and Roach and your vision for 2023 for Fox and Roach. Is there anything specific that you want to touch upon or you get excited about that we're doing in 2023?
Well, before I get to that, I just need to say, running this company is truly an honor and a pleasure. I get up every day excited to take on the world and help this company constantly just be better tomorrow than today. It's a lot of our sales associates have heard me say that in the past, and that's our mantra. It's about being on a constant mission of improvement and being better tomorrow than we are today, right? We're the number one company in our marketplace. We're the number one company in the Berkshire Hathaway network, but that is not good enough. We need to be on a constant mission of improvement, constantly looking in the mirror, lifting the hood. What can we do better as an organization to better support our sales associates so that they can achieve everything that they want to achieve? And that's what the survey was about. That's what Project Elevate was about. And that is where our leadership team is constantly looking. That's what we're constantly looking to do. Our leadership team, we work for our sales associates. And we are, again, I'll say it again, and I can't say it enough, a constant mission of improvement. What specifically are we looking at this year? We got a lot of stuff going on. It's very, very exciting, right? So we're launching BHHS Connect. That's our new CRM. We're going to be, finally, I know it's been a bit of a wait, but we're there. We're the first Berkshire Hathaway company to launch this awesome CRM. It's the best in the business. It's the best in the business, and we're fortunate to have it. It's great. Mobile app is awesome. It's team friendly. It helps with lead generation. It's got a built-in CMA, Core Present, which is similar to Moxie Present, and it's going to have everything in one place. Look, moving to a new CRM, like I get it. We're on this one, they're on that one. We're here to stay on this one. So I encourage our sales associates to take the time to learn it. It's got a lot of bells and whistles, but you don't need to know everything about it to take advantage of BHHS Connect. We're going to have training all over the place, in person and virtual. We're going to have beginner and advanced classes. So we're going to tailor this training to the needs of our sales associates. And it's just going to be great. I'm excited about that. And I'm going to break a little news on your podcast, Jason.
Okay, all right.
There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of years that Our logo, our brand is a little dated, and marketing is not my forte, but we've got a great marketing department with Melissa and Rajiv and the support of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. So we're getting a brand refresh.
Wow. Okay.
Coming in the first quarter of this year. It's gonna be more current. It's gonna be cleaner. I've seen it. It looks fantastic. It's very, very digital friendly. And so we're not gonna be changing like all our signs at once, right? You know, it's gonna be a slow roll, but it's gonna be available to our sales associates. It's gonna be on our website, and it's gonna be very, very digital friendly, and it's very current and very clean. So I want everybody to get excited about that. We're excited. We're also looking to expand our commercial business this year. It was very, last year at the convention, we pulled off the triple play, right? We were number one in units, GCI, and commercial. So we're the number one Berkshire Hathaway company as far as commercial sales. But again, we want to grow and expand that part of our organization. We have a commercial advisory group, which is a team of 10 commercial specific agents, 10 specific commercial agents. They've helped guide the commercial support we offer as a company. And last year, their input resulted in a sign refresh and additional marketing materials available to all agents on Ace Design Studio. So, so that's going to be exciting as well. We're looking to grow our commercial part of the organization. And then, just continued growth of charities and our DEI initiative. Those are, very important parts of our organization. Looking to continue to grow those in 2023 as well.
Well, that's awesome. I got to tell you, it is. First thing I want to say, I want to touch upon a couple points. The first thing I'll say is it's incredibly cool every year for those of us that head to the convention. And we are kind of the rock stars, right? Fox and Roach is number one. I don't want to jinx us, but we're number one pretty much every year out there.
Going for 8 years in a row this year.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. And I got to tell you, I was a little surprised last year when we were number one in commercial sales. I was like, wow, that's really, really cool. And I know we have some great commercial agents, but that was really cool to see. And as far as the marketing goes, you talk to anybody that I know, I am such a sucker for good marketing. It doesn't matter what it is. If there's good marketing, I will often buy something just because I like the marketing and the look of it. So I'm a huge branding guy. I'm really excited to see the new branding. I had no idea that was on the horizon. So that's really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And, I know you mentioned a lot in there. Are there any specific goals? I know we talked about your vision, but are there any specific goals that you have for the company that you'd like to share in 2023?
Jason, I am one of those people. I'm very goal oriented. We were talking before we jumped on the podcast, how are things, It's funny, the end of the year is typically the busiest time of the year for me because it's all about closing out the year and then setting our goals for next year. You need to figure out where you're going to finish this year and then start planning for next year. Believe it or not, we start planning for the next year, July of the current year. So we started our business plan and budget and goals for 2023 in July of 2022. And it's a constant process because the market changed a fair amount from July until the end of the year. So you're just constantly looking at things. But, some of our specific goals, I think that like we talked about it earlier, right? The market, I think, is going to be off a little bit year over year, somewhere in the range of 5 to 8% in unit sales. But that doesn't mean that the unit sales at Fox and Roach, at Berkshire Hathaway Fox and Roach need to be off 5 to 8%, right? So if the pie is going to be a little bit smaller, our goal is to get a larger piece of that pie, right? Continued growth of our market share. So one of our goals is to sell more homes in 2023 than we did in 2022, and what's going to be probably a little bit of a shrinking market. So how do we do that? Right? It's by growing our agent base through recruiting. Over the last 12 weeks, we are averaging 9 experienced agents joining our company for a combined value of $18 million per week joining our company. So a lot of agents are seeing the value of our organization. They want to join the number one company in the marketplace, and that's Berkshire Hathaway Fox Roach Realtors. So that's one way that we can do it. Second is to help our current agent base grow their production. I mean, the goals for the agents that we have, our agents, the Berkshire Hathaway agents, should be the same. Grow your business year over year. Like we talked about earlier, there's going to be a flight to quality. The flight to quality is sales associates joining our great organization, and then buyers and sellers using the sales associates at our great organization, because we are the professionals that they're going to need to navigate what's going to be a little bit more of a difficult market in 2023 than 2022. So that's the first goal, grow units year over year. Second, continue to grow our market share, which is kind of the same thing, I guess. Continue to grow our market share. Again, we're the number one company in the marketplace, but we want the gap between us and number two to continue to grow. And then finally, I love to be on that stage, support, representing our great organization and get number one in the Berkshire Hathaway the Berkshire Hathaway network for the 8th year in a row. Units, we should do well in units. GCI, I don't want to get everyone's, GCI is going to be a little tougher this year because, BHHS California is the one we're always competing with. And their average sale price went up to $1.4 million this year from like $1.2 million last year. So that's going to be a bit of a bigger lift this year, but we're hoping that we're going to do the hat trick again this year. That would be something else.
Yeah, California properties is always, nipping at our heels there.
Yes.
And it is tough with that average sales price. It's pretty amazing out there.
I mean, we beat them last year. It was like less than 1% in GCI. So it was as tight as ever last year.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. So, we live in the day and age of hot takes. We have some hot takes on sports, on culture, politics, et cetera. So in that spirit, what is your hot take on the real estate industry in general? Where are we heading this year as an industry? And is there anything personally you want to see change in our industry right now? What are the things that we're doing well, and what can we improve on as an industry?
Well, as far as, the hot take, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, flight to quality. We've seen it in the past. We're going to see it again. Flight to quality, flight to quality. Right. So the agents at our company are going to benefit from that. And we as an organization are going to benefit from that. And then a little bit, again, normalization of the market. I think, a little bit more of a balance. I mean, I think month supply of inventory is going to continue to grow and we'll get into a more balanced state. I mean, a true balanced market, month supply is in the 5 to 6 months range. I don't think we'll get there this year, but it'll get a little bit better. Yes, what do we do well? What we do a lot of things well, right? But getting away from the statistics and the numbers, we work as an organization better together. I like to tell people, we have 5,000 sales associates, 68 sales offices, and 450 employees, right? It's a lot, right? But we still have that small company feel. I really believe that to my core, that small family-owned company feel. We're able to move and adjust quickly, just like any small organization out there. Our leadership team, our employees, I mean, we genuinely, truly care about our sales associates and what their goals are. And we really want to help all of our sales associates achieve those goals. I mean, that's our core thing. And I mean, that's why, the pandemic was not friendly to us as a company, because, we're all about being in the offices together, working together, popping into the sales leader's office and bouncing something off of that person and helping our sales associates achieve everything they want to achieve. So that's why we're really trying to get everybody back into the offices again, because, I mean, that's who we are, working together. It was so frustrating when we were in Nashville and we were riding this big high and we were ready to embark on all these live events. And I was so excited. And then just the world shut down. And I remember it so vividly, sitting with my executive committee the Thursday morning after we got back from Nashville. And if you remember back then, Jason, it was like, okay, everybody go home for 2 weeks, and then we'll come back into the offices in 2 weeks, right? And then it was like another 2 weeks. And the changes were so fast and furious. It was so hard to keep up. And, the rules were different for all 3 states and how we could operate and essential services. So, I'm glad that that's behind us. But what do we do well? It's our passion, right? It's just our passion and working together as a team. And, where can we improve? It's just, there's always room for improvement. It's always about lifting the hood and looking closely at what we're doing. We always talk about, look, just because we did things a certain way in the past, that doesn't mean it's the way we should be doing things in the future. It may have worked in the past, but it doesn't mean it's going to work in the future. So, my team, whenever I ask, how can we do it why do we do it this way? And why do we do things that way? They know now, never answer that with, well, that's the way we've always done it, right? So, so it's just constant improvement, constant, lifting the hood. What can we do? What can we do better as an organization to help support our sales associates?
And do you think, like, as an industry, right? And I think the pandemic really kind of accentuated, I guess, some positive things and some negative things, right? I think positively, like, where there's a will, there's a way, right? You had mentioned when we were shut down, we had to find a way to make a living out of everything. I remember the first time I went to show a house after we had been shut down for months. It almost, I tell people, it's like walking on the moon, right? Like, I felt like I walk into the place and I'm tiptoeing around, trying not to touch anything. I feel like I should be in a hazmat suit, but we were out there doing it,
Yeah, I mean, you remember it was like weird when in the beginning, if you saw someone walking around the neighborhood, you're like, woo, code red. Code red.
It was
crazy.
The best, I don't want to make light of a pandemic, but the best thing that I can remember was traffic was gone. So if I had to show a house, I was like, oh my God, this is great driving wise. I'm getting out to, say, Westchester in a half an hour from where I am, which is really, really quick because there's no cars on the road. On the flip side of that, like you and I are talking over Zoom right now. Some things that have stuck, at least with me and my business, is I tend to work from home the first portion of the day, and then I'll go into the office the second portion. And where I used to meet, first-time home buyers or new clients in the office, I now meet them over Zoom. Do you feel like the brick and mortar, are we getting away from brick and mortar? Are we coming back to brick and mortar? Where do you see that going as an industry?
It's a hybrid situation, right? You can't, working virtually works, but it's a temporary situation, right? You can be more efficient working virtually, but you do give up some of the benefits of working live and in person, right? The camaraderie, working together, bouncing things off. So I think the future is a hybrid situation. I think that the not just our industry or our company, I think that the working world, people that have behind the desk jobs, I think the future is a hybrid environment. A couple of days working from home, 3 days working in the office. So yeah, I do think that, look, I do think you walk in any of our sales offices and they're very empty, right? So as an organization, we have a responsibility to be profitable, turn a profit, for the benefits of our employees, our sales associates, so we can invest that money in tools, technology, and support that help our sales associates grow their business. So we have a responsibility to watch our bottom line. So yeah, when leases come up on sales offices, we are looking to reduce space one way or the other. Sometimes we can work with the landlord. They'll allow us to reduce the space that's allotted to us. In some situation, we may move to another office that's smaller, but maybe down the street. Or in some situations, we may combine offices that are super close to each other. And the net effect, now this is a very long-term situation because, we have 75 buildings and leases expire anytime between now and 7 years from now. So it's a process, not an event. But hopefully the net effect down the line is, yeah, our offices will be a little bit smaller, but you have more people in those offices working together, again, working together as a group, as a team, feeding off each other so that they can, ultimately, again, benefit from that and help to grow their business. So it's something that's there.
Yeah, and I've talked to experienced agents and newer agents about this. Is that the one place where I feel really bad for during the pandemic, really bad for newer agents, was the fact that we weren't able to have the brokers opens. We weren't able to be together so they could learn by osmosis and just being around the experienced agents how to handle this situation, how to handle that situation, because we all talk. And, it's nice to see we in our office, we have a work from work Tuesday. Right?
Yeah.
And it's funny to say that, but it's true, because I do still think that it's very important for people to be in front of other experienced people, especially if you're new, because you're not going to know everything about this business. And the only way really to learn is by doing it or being around people that are doing it. And I don't think that's ever going to go away, but I agree with you. We're in a hybrid state, and that's just the way the world is now. It's not just us, it's everybody,
I agree.
And how do we best take advantage of that? So, all right. So last question that I have for you. And, I know that you're a very, very busy individual, and personally, we all need some time to take off and recharge and kick back. What do you do for our agents out there to get to know you a little bit? What do you enjoy doing to get away from having such a large responsibility every day? Is there any specific hobby or place of zen or a place that you go to relax? What do you do to get away?
Yeah, it's funny. My job is interesting in that my job's a lot about thinking, right? We talk a lot about it on this podcast. It's about thinking of ways to improve as an organization. So like that part of my job, like almost never stops, just constantly thinking. But there is one thing that I love to do. And when I do it, I'm able to totally shut down and turn off, and that's play golf. I love to play golf. I played a bunch of sports when I was a kid. And as I enter my early to mid 50s, golf's pretty much the last sport that I'm able to really do. I'm not going to run up and down the basketball court. I'm not going to, run around the tennis court. I've got some injuries that I got over the years. So golf's the last one. Things I love about golf: I love playing in the morning. I love getting out there early. It's just, kind of, geeky golf stuff, like, the dew on the grass or the sun coming up. It's just a great time. I play with a group of my friends. Gets very competitive. I love the competitive nature. I love hanging out with my friends on the golf course. It's a 4 to 5 hour amount of time, and I play on the weekends. Saturday, Sunday mornings, and the phone is in my bag, and I walk when I play, so there is an element of exercise as well. And I just love to play. I love the game. I love being out in nature with my friends, and playing golf and then hanging out afterwards. And I'm really able to truly shut it down when I play golf on a Saturday or Sunday morning. So that's what I like to do.
That's awesome, because I am a total golfer as well. My mother is obsessed with golf. For those that know her. And it's funny that you mentioned as part of getting older. I played every sport under the sun growing up, and then it's funny how things evolve, because you can't do XYZ, and then I got into running, and then I couldn't run anymore because my knees hurt. So then I got into walking. And
I mean, you just as you get older, I injured my shoulder a year ago, and I get, well, what'd you do to injure it? I'm in my 50s. Eventually things just start to break down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's all about staying ahead of the curve, and shout out to Rajiv out there. Rajiv is probably the best out of all of us at staying ahead of the curve. And Fit Fox Tribe and what they're doing on there is pretty amazing. So I did want to say I got a new rowing machine for Christmas, and I've been on that every day now. So I'm trying to keep up with that. So, but golf is a sport like none other because we can do that until we're well and old. So anyway, Larry, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I know you have to hop off, so I'll let you go. And much continued success. And I'm looking forward to being number one at the convention this year again. So I'm putting us on the spot there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. That was the conversation this week with Larry Flick. We thank him for giving us his insights on 2023. Before we get into the takeaways of my conversation with Larry, I do want to give a special shout out to those of you who responded from our last episode about your word of the year for 2023. And I do want to mention a few of you by name, like I told you I was going to do. So let's start it right off with Melissa Schweider-Oath out of our Wayne Devon office. Melissa was listening to our last episode while she was driving and very thoughtfully came up with her word of the year, which is collaborate. Thank you so much for sharing, Melissa. Next up, my good friend out of my own office in Springhouse, Nick Solomon. His word for the year of 2023 is try. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it. Third on our list is Diana Flanagan out of our Haddonfield office. Her word for the year is confidence. I know that in this market, we all need to have some confidence right now moving forward. Debbie McCabe, regional manager, sitting out of our Wayne Devon office. Her word is growth. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. Number 5, big supporter of the podcast, Linda Crane down there in our Yardley Newtown office. Her word for the year is care. Thanks so much, Linda. And last but not least, my very good friend, Marianne Matteo. Her word for the year is balance. Thank you all. I wish you all the best of luck in 2023. Okay, so back to my conversation with Larry. A couple points that I wanted to make. Number 1, this year is not going to be like last year, and last year is not going to be like 2021, right? Every year is different, and even though sales are projected to be a little bit lower than the past couple of years, this is still going to be a great real estate market, and I'm excited about it from the standpoint of the professionals out there that do this day in and day out are the ones that are going to thrive. So what does that mean for you? I think that means honing your skills as much as possible for this year ahead, right? So for instance, if you've been meaning to update your listing presentation, make sure that you do that. Make sure that you are aware of the market stats right now in your local market. You want to be that expert, that go-to person. If you were thinking about updating your branding, updating your profile online, now is the time to really hone your skills. On the marketing side of things, what are you doing differently this year that you haven't done in the past to allow you to get more business? Where are you going to be seen? What is your target market? All these things are critical right now in the market that we're heading into to allow you to thrive where others fall behind this year. Second point I want to make is about what Larry said about the beginning of the year in relation to the end of the year coming up. So the first portion of this year may be the harder portion, right? Because interest rates are higher right now, and it may scare some of those buyers off, right? So towards the end of the year, when interest rates maybe loosen a little bit or predicted to loosen a little bit, those buyers may jump back in the market, and the second half of the year may be more robust than the first half of the year is. So if you can make hay the first half of the year, that should set you up nicely for the second half of the year, and hopefully in totality, it will be a great year for all of us. And the last thing I want to say, just from a Fox and Roach standpoint, I'm excited about our new CRM. If you haven't had a chance to get your hands on the new CRM yet, just know that there's going to be so many things that you can do from that platform all in one place without having to go to this program, to that program. It's really going to help your business. I'm really looking forward to that. And, you know, breaking news on here, there's going to be some branding changes as well for our logo and marketing moving forward. I'm looking forward to that as well. So 2023 is going to be really exciting with the opportunities that we will have to help make it our best year ever. It's just about applying yourself. And if I can go back to my word of the year, executing on making that happen. Well, that's it for the podcast this week. We will be back in another couple of weeks with a new topic, a new guest. And as always, if you want to hear something that we haven't covered yet, please reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the podcast or given us a review yet, please do so. It helps us to reach more people. Once again, this is Jason Ostrowski saying stay safe out there, stay selling, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast.